Now, Moon-Rahu combinations. These are very interesting combinations. Sometimes very difficult, sometimes extremely creative and powerful. And we're going to be looking at Moon-Rahu combinations within the chart, as well as transits of Rahu to the Moon. So, Moon-Rahu combinations, conjunctions. That's when we have Moon and Rahu together in the same sign, The Moon deals with our emotional nature, our sense of self, our soul. Who are we as an individual? Rahu is the outcast, the unusual one, the one that does things differently, the planet of confusion and darkness. Now, we have to have a sense of how is Rahu going to work and what is the dignity of the Moon. So that's a little bit beyond the scope of this video, but if you want to know the dignity of Rahu, if you're already familiar with that, please go back on this channel, youtube.com/Ryan's Vedic Astrology, and find that video where it's got the fellow going like this. And there's Rahu and Ketu symbols, and it's all about how do we determine whether Rahu and Ketu are going to work well within your chart. But when Rahu and Moon get together, that can give a very out-of-the-ordinary personality, sometimes a strange personality. It can be excessive creativity. It can be going from one extreme to another. It can allow a person to obtain high mystical states. However, since it's Rahu, what that typically results in is a person having difficulty with inebriance or attaining mystical states through unhealthy means. The Moon is our capacity to perceive the world. Remember, we talked about that with Moon-Mercury combinations. Moon-Mercury. So when we have Rahu with the Moon, if it's confusion, if it's darkness, if it's obscuration, the person's senses might not perceive things clearly. And that's where we get some potential of misunderstanding, misinterpreting the people around us, the situations around us, which is why Moon-Rahu at times can blow things out of proportion, because they just don't know what's going on. They don't understand their sense of self versus what's out there. They don't have that proper balance. So boundary issues can be a very difficult thing with Moon-Rahu. It can make a person very psychic, intuitive, and perceptive. But again, if you don't have proper training in how to have strong psychic boundaries, how to work in a very perceptive, intuitive, or psychic manner, it can lead a person to create all kinds of problems for themselves emotionally and psychologically, because they don't know how to protect themselves in an astral situation. They don't know how to protect their emotions. They don't know how to protect their mind. All they know how to do is to give themselves up to a power that's chaotic and crazy, and they lose themselves in it. So that's a more extreme version of Rahu Moon, but you'll see this in people. Rahu Moon people tend to conglomerate. They tend to run in the same circles. So they will seem normal to each other, but they might not necessarily seem normal to individuals who don't have Moon-Rahu combinations. But again, it's also going to be related to the dignity of the Moon as well as the dignity of Rahu, because these can be extremely intuitive, perceptive, groundbreaking, ahead of their time, popular, successful people, most definitely. Very hypnotic kind of consciousness, but it goes to extremes. Or it can be a very confused, deluded, unhappy, emotionally unstable individual. And why is that? Because remember, Rahu shows what we're meant to focus on to develop in this lifetime, where you haven't had skills from the past. You haven't done it before. So with Moon and Rahu together, the person's meant to develop good emotional boundaries, good psychological boundaries, a clear sense of self, but they don't know how to do it. So that it's hard for them. And they tend to go to extremes because they don't know how to approach it, which is why Moon-Rahu individuals need to find a friend or a buddy or a counselor or a coach, which is very solid, and they need to learn to listen to that person and trust that person to guide them to when they're confused about something, or whether they should flip out because of this, or if they should focus extremely on this. The person can say, okay, from a balanced perspective, this is probably what would work out best, because you're drunk on your karma. You don't know how to respond to this emotionally or with a healthy sense of self. So here are some guides. follow these guides. And if the Rahu moon person can do that, then they can develop this Rahu moon energy in a very wholesome way, in the way they're supposed to in this life. But if they don't, then they'll typically go off the deep end, or they'll have a real hard time connecting with others long term in a healthy manner. So we have to be very cautious and careful with the moon Rahu conjunctions. So we need to avoid this idea of the confusion of moon Rahu. A person needs to stay extremely pure in regards to the people they hang around, the media that they feed their mind, because they can latch on to something and really, with their confusion, blow it out of proportion because they don't particularly understand it. Moon Rahu individuals really need to eat a very balanced, nutritious diet, cutting out intoxicants, inebriants, anything that can poison their system and affect their mind. They need to be very careful and cautious about who they spend time with, because they will really take on the qualities of that individual. And if they're spending time with good people, healthy people, they need to actually embody that. Not try to pull that good person or that healthy-minded person, into the chaos or confusion. They need to actually embody and model that support and strength of that healthy-minded person, rather than wishing that healthy-minded person would validate their own confusion. So it's a tricky combination, moon Rahu. And whatever house it's in, that's where that extreme is typically going to play out within the individual. So moon Rahu, this will be related to conjunctions, but also we want to pay attention to wherever your moon is in your birth chart, whatever sign it's in, house it's in. Whenever Rahu goes over that sign by transit, your natal moon, Rahu goes over it by transit, these experiences may be more prominent within your awareness, and you just have to be more peaceful, spend more time in meditation, not make any big decisions, and spend time with good company. And get advice when you're confused. Don't trust yourself so much. But the trick is, the difficulty is, when you're in that state, you have difficulty knowing who's going to give you good advice. So think back to people that you've met previously that were solid, good, stable supports that gave you good advice. Those are going to be the people you want to listen to. All right, not the new people that come in that are telling you all kinds of wild, fantastic things, because that's just going to feed this moon Rahu excessiveness. Okay, so these are some thoughts and ideas around moon and Rahu conjunctions, as well as transits of Rahu to the moon.